This guy, I'm gonna let you introduce him, man, because this your guy right here.
This next guy has been called Atlanta's legal guardian. They call him the super lawyer, super attorney. He's a great family friend. He played with Big 5-0 in college. I don't know if you know who Big 5-0 is, but he played with David Robinson. He's a great person, and I couldn't have a guest on without having somebody that talks about civil rights. He's a civil rights attorney. My man, Mawuli Davis. So let's bring my man out. Now, why you,
fellas?
Man, Mawuli, see, I got a problem. I got a problem. I love you to death, but I knew I should have put my sport coat on. I thought about putting my sport coat on. I started to tell you when we talked. You don't have to put on your bow tie. You don't have to put on. But knowing you probably got an award or something like that. Man, I'm so happy for you and so proud of you. I appreciate you being on the show.
Man, thank you, brothers. I saw all of these guests that have come, and I'll tell you, Lance, the only time I played with David was when he was getting ready for the Olympics. He and Danny Ferry came back to the Naval Academy, and they were getting ready for the Olympics. That was the team that went to the Olympics under John Thompson. And so they were training. But David, he graduated in May of 87, and I came on campus in July of 87. And so when I saw all of these phenomenal guests that y'all have, I say, man, what's an old broke down ball player like me doing on a sports show like this? Y'all got champions on here, man. I'm just like, damn, I won the Catholic League though, right? We won it our sophomore year. We were the sophomore champs. Beat Leo with the great Daryl Arnold and Donald Whiteside, right? Okay. And then the senior year, we won the Catholic League again, beating St. Francis D. Sales with the late great Eric Anderson and my boy Corny. So I had to pull on my high school years to even feel like I even belong in the space with y'all, Jason. This is crazy, man.
Attorney Davis, but it's more you actually play sports. And the part of the reason why Jason and I were doing the show, because we wanted to expose people to people in our community from our area that's doing great things. And now with so much going on in sports, so many civil rights, we had so much stuff, and I just felt it was right for us to have you on the show. And also, to talk about some of the things that's going on in this world today.
I appreciate it, brothers. And I love the show. I'm vibing the diversity, man. My sons took fencing when they were little.
Did they?
So yeah. Just and it was I was like you, Lance. Jana came up with, they're going to take fencing. I was like, okay, and so that's a beautiful thing Coach is doing in New York, and it just needs to spread everywhere. But man, we're it's a lot going on. Most recently we've been working on supporting Coach Travis Williams to secure this HBCU All-Star game during the Final Four. And so real close to getting that accomplished. Coach Williams coached at both Tennessee State, Fort Valley State, Georgia State, and just had a vision for a HBCU All-Star game during the Final Four experience. So we're really, really close to getting that done. We've been working with some incredible lawyers. One of them played ball at University of Iowa.
Time out.
Felicia, do you know Felicia Hall Allen?
Felicia Allen Hall. You know what, that's why I had a problem, because our super producer Maya went to Iowa. And I just hate giving her credit.
Hey,
Felicia's on that group. So now
Felicia is a part of that team. She's a boss, bro. Like of course we got Ben Crump is on the team. And then we have Heather Palmore, Naomi Baez, both out of New York. So we've got Atlanta, New York. I don't know what Ben is claiming. Ben be out in California, be out in Florida.
This year.
Yeah, he was in New York on Sunday. We on the call. He's with the family of Malcolm X
Right.
releasing this
I
new
saw that.
information.
Yep.
So he's all over the place, man. But we were able to really pull together an incredible team to support, the coach, because so much of what we do in athletics and entertainment is just like our experience in the world, and we are disenfranchised from our own creativity, and that's what the struggle is about, man. Is that our lives, our creativity, our energy, our intellectual property, it matters and it's protected, and we're not getting jacked for it, so.
And you know what, Mawuli? Just talk about from a name, image, and likeness standpoint. Do you think it's time for the student athletes to get paid?
Absolutely. It's past time. It's past time. We know the NCAA makes billions of dollars. We know their member institutions, these individual schools, they make money hand over fist. Some of these young people, we know, and Lance, when we think about the guys that we played against in that class of 87, our number one player, Marcus Liberty, came out, played in the league for some years, but for the most part, we turned pro in other areas, right? And so if you're gonna have my name, not my name, because I wasn't, I scored about 100 points in 4 years, so I wasn't a shooter.
Right, that's all I scored.
Right. So, if you're gonna have a kid's name and image, and they're not gonna go pro, but you're gonna make money off of them, and the training regimen at the biggest institutions, it's a job. It's a straight up job. And so it's beyond just them receiving the education and the scholarship, because they're having to change their courses. I remember Big Mel Agee, Bopper, played University of Illinois, came from my neighborhood, grew up in Jeffrey Manor. And Bop, he was an engineer. Bop was a straight A student coming out of Washington High School. Wow. And he was an engineer, but he didn't think that the rigor of the engineer major, he could sustain it and be ready to go pro. And so he became a math major. And it's nothing wrong being a math major, but if you want to be there was a sacrifice. And I just want, people to understand that these student athletes are making sacrifices, and they should be compensated.
Definitely. Deion Sanders just got hired at Jackson State. And I know you're an advocate for all the HBCUs. Your wife, Jana, who got award yesterday, she went to Florida A&M.
That's right.
Do you think Deion could probably turn it around at a Jackson State? And what does the HBCUs need to do for them to be able to compete with some of the PWIs?
Yeah. And see, I always have thought that basketball would be the easier turnaround, that you could get, like a Fab Five. A lot of these kids are going to be one and done anyway. They can go and compete anywhere. I thought it'd be much more difficult for football, but hey, Deion is prime time, so maybe he can make it happen. I hope and I really pray that he does, because I think what we have to do, and what we've seen since all of the protests, we were out in the street this summer. We representing people who were charged. We represented people who were injured. Think about this. And then I just to put it in some context, we have people who are injured protesting about police brutality of the killing of George Floyd. And then the police, while they're doing this protest, the police injure them, right? They're shooting rubber bullets. They're tear gassing them. They're beating them with batons. They're tasing them. And so these young people with great courage have gone into the street, and they've said that our lives are going to matter, and we're going to make it matter today and tomorrow and into the future. And so what we saw is an uptick in the enrollment for HBCUs across the country. And we've been seeing that there was a Trump effect. And now I believe that we can call this a George Floyd effect, where we see that we have to try to find safe spaces where our young people can go and not feel like their lives are in jeopardy, both in a classroom or on a campus. And that's why this HBCU sports piece is so critical, because it could really change the dynamic. It could really take us back to the glory days, like when my dad played at Tennessee State. They won 2 national championships under John B. McClendon.
I
We
forgot
can
your dad
do that.
played there. I forgot
Yeah.
he played for Coach John B.
Under
McClendon.
their team just got last year. We went, and their team, that 58-59 back-to-back NAIA championship team, got inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, and I was able to stand in for my dad, my brother, and I, man, and that just that's the potential that if we can harness all of this athleticism and brilliance, the potential that we have to really change HBCU athletics, because it's a money game.
Man, it is. It is.
So, Attorney James, let me ask you, the social justice initiatives that we're seeing across the sporting world are being led primarily by African-American athletes. It's one thing when the professional athletes are doing it because they're making the amount of money. The blowback for them is not going to be as severe as the college ones, where that scholarship is kind of being held over their head. But starting to see down into the college ranks where the young people are starting to say, you know what, we're not dealing with this stuff no more, and they are leading the charge. What are just your overall thoughts on the social justice initiatives that have been started by so many of our college athletes?
I think it's key and critical. I think, Jason, when we look at our history of struggle in this country, our athletes have always attempted on different levels to mirror the larger community. Now, when we are at our zenith, that's when we see our athletes emerge. When you see a Muhammad Ali, when you see a John Carlos, a Tommy Smith, that was at a critical point in the movement where the masses of our people provided protection for our athletes, right? Because all our athletes were doing were speaking the voice, providing voice to all of what the rest of our community was experiencing. And then when you see in the 80s, there's the level of consciousness as a community goes down a bit. And so our athletes aren't as protected, like a brother Craig Hodges, where they're allowed to essentially force him out of the league. Mahmoud, formerly known as Chris Jackson, same kind of situation where they're able to force them out of the league. And they were in many ways, they were both before their time in that moment, but they were also in the tradition of the Muhammad Alis, of the Kurt Floyds, of all those athletes who were courageous and bold in taking a position. And then you have Brother Kaepernick, who is, falls into that same category, where we didn't have enough as a community, enough push to protect Brother Kaepernick. And so he ends up unemployed. But the stand he took helped spark this generation of athletes, to take a knee. And so you have high school students. You have, even in colleges, I saw NAIA school was about to, they forfeited the game because students wouldn't, they were kneeling during the national anthem. And so you see, this is going on everywhere. And I don't think there's a segment of American society that's not touched by this movement. And I just think it's more to come. I think we have reached a point where there is, on certain levels, there's no turning back.
And that was going to be my follow-up question to you, is that, now that we've brought so much attention to all these issues and we've now shifted into the action phase of actually trying to do stuff about it, where do you see we are in this movement, and where do you think we should take it? Because it's got to come from different fronts. You're doing it in the law side, but everyone has got their own little lane in which they can do it. So where do you see the movement?
I'm glad you asked that question, Jay. And I just want to chime in real quick. It's like on Jason's question. Because the guy, Coach Vanderpool with the Minnesota Timberwolves, y'all, he was associate head coach, and he just got passed over. Like, he couldn't get a job, Jay. He's more than qualified to get the job, but then he doesn't get it. So, like, Jay, like, what type of action do we need to take?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think so. There are a couple things that I think we have to keep considering. One, what we see now, and some of what I even talk about in my book is about the young people being able to reimagine how they enter the movement, right? Like you all are using your platform. Y'all could play it safe as hell. Y'all could just be like, we strictly sports, no politics, right? Y'all could do that, but we have to all find our lane where we can contribute to the forward motion of our struggle for freedom and liberation. And so one of the things that we've talked about and we talk about with our young people in the program is that no matter what you do, whether you coach, whether you're a broadcaster, whether you're an attorney, a doctor, it doesn't matter. You have to find out how will you contribute to the overall liberation of Black people. That has to be a part of your life mission, right? You don't get, there are no passes. You don't get to just be. I'm just a human being. No, your ass ain't, right? You have to be Black right now, right here. And unapologetically, as they say over Trinity, you don't have to apologize about being Black because we need you in this moment. We need everybody to say, I'm down, let me do my part. But the last piece that I think that a lot of people have been maybe, I think, overly critical of the young people is the organization and collaboration, right? Because we have to connect the dots. What young people, we had a beautiful program this weekend, a virtual program where we had a young person from Brazil, a young person that working with brothers and sisters in the Congo and Africa. And so she's based out of New York. And then we had young people in the city that we organized primarily in the city of Decatur. They were all talking about how to deal with neo-colonialism, imperialism, like these kind of complicated kind of theories, but they are realities that they see, oh, that's happening to you. So it's not just what's happening in Chicago, Atlanta, and New York. It's global. And I think it's the ability to collaborate and consolidate some of our demands and our efforts that's going to be the key to us sustaining it. Everything has to be going towards building institutions. And the building of the institution allows a springboard for different things to happen that will continue to grow our movement and strengthen our movement and consolidate it.
Wow. All right. Once again, being joined by Attorney Davis. We're going to take a commercial break, and then he's going to come back and join us. We got a couple more questions, and when we come back from commercial break, I got a real heavy question to ask you about. So that's why I want to give you full time to talk about this because it's
you got a heavy, Jay. You got a heavy one.
I got a heavy one, so it's kind of important. So I want to give him a full time. You watch your cuz. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned.
You see me.
You hear me.
Respect me.
Respect. Due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others.
We don't have to agree, but I deserve to be heard. I stand my ground. Respect me.
We don't have to be friends, but I deserve your civility. I stand my ground. Respect me.
You don't have to understand my culture, but I deserve to be authentically myself. I stand my ground. Respect me.
I stand in defiance of your need to make me less in order for you to feel adequate.
I stand.
I stand aware that the America that you see and love today is a result of my free labor.
I stand.
I stand knowing that the contempt you have for me was not instigated by me, but perpetuated by the fear you have of me. I stand.
I stand surviving your many attempts to emasculate me. Indeed, I thrive despite it.
I stand realizing that you take many things from me, but I will not allow you to take my respect.
I am a man.
I am a proud man.
I am a proud black man.
I am authentically, undisputedly, unapologetically a proud black man.
I am authentic, undisputedly, unapologetically a proud black man.
I am authentically, undisputably, unapologetically a proud black man.
Respect me.
I have done more than enough to deserve it, and still you withhold it.
The bill is past due.
You owe me.
Respect me.
Respect me.
Respect me.
Hey everybody, did you know that Black History Month was not always Black History Month? In 1915, it was proposed by Carter G. Woodson that we celebrate 1 week. The second week of February was chosen to celebrate two birthdays, the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, well known and recognized for the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed 75% of the enslaved population in the United States, and also none other than Frederick Douglass. So now what? We've got 28 days in the month of February, and I challenge you to investigate more about Black history this month. Because I teach civics, I'm going to encourage you to maybe look at the Constitution, maybe look at the Three-Fifths Compromise that was originally written in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution. Then maybe check out 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment. Then I'm going to go ahead and say, why don't you take a look at the Voting Rights Act also and what's happening now? We celebrate Black History Month to form a more perfect union.
Welcome back to What's Up, Cuz. I'm your host, Jason Palmer, along with my cousin Lancey Irvin and our esteemed guest, Attorney Davis, who did a summer practice with David Robinson, is what he told us earlier today. But that don't count, man. And here's a funny story that my cousin Lance don't even know. Our uncle Joshua Carter, one of his best friends was David Robinson's wife's father. They used to play golf together in Chicago. You don't even know that because David Robinson's wife is from Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so the guy would always come over and hang out with your own uncle, my uncle too. So there you go. There's your history. There's all connection.
That's why I hang with people like you and Mawuli. See, I can't know everything. See, I'm not always the smartest in the room.
This is true. This is true.
Boy, I almost said something. Hey, Mawuli, I almost said something to him on the camera, but I'm gonna leave it alone.
All right. So I got a couple serious questions for you, and I think the commercials that Maya just played are perfect for what we're getting ready to get into. So I live up here in southeastern Wisconsin. So the whole Sterling Brown case situation, which took place, he recently settled that case for $750,000. I think he got settled just in November there. Sterling Brown was basically harassed by the police outside of I believe a Walgreens store up here over a parking space, and a bunch of cops were called. He got tased. I know you're representing a young man who's from Chicago. If I'm not mistaken, went to Kenwood Academy.
Right.
Down there during the protest, during the George Floyd protest this summer, he had a young lady in his car with him. They were in the traffic. Not sure exactly what happened, but I know the police kind of bum rushed the car, broke the windows, pulled people out, tased folks, all sorts of craziness was going on. So we're seeing this stuff happening, around the country now. You're right there on the front lines fighting in this battle. Talk to me a little bit about just what your thoughts were on the Sterling Brown settlement, and tell us some more details about your client that you're representing, who's a kid. And from what everyone at Kenwood told me, he was always a good kid. And what his case is like down there in Georgia right now.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about, Sterling Brown, man, there are so many Sterling Browns that are not NBA players and don't have the platform. I mean, I got my law partner, one of my law partners, Francis Johnson, emailed me a video of a guy getting tased, like literally today, hands up, and the officers are running up, and one officer says, "Tase him." Like his hands are up like this.
Wow.
And so it happens, man, so often. And this is a disturbing thing, and it's an admission that I have to make. There are so many instances of police brutality that we don't even take the case typically unless someone is seriously hurt, because like getting punched, getting body slammed, all that kind of stuff, that just is almost a part of every arrest, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is much more widespread than not everybody obviously is getting killed, but even the numbers in police involved deaths, those numbers have gone up. And so we have to just be very, very real that this police violence, that there's a culture that has to be changed. And we talk about, and I'll talk to some students later this week, that culture is born out of policing as it relates to Black people in America. Is born out of slave patrols of the South, where just any white person essentially had the right and the power to take control over your Black body, your Black life. So you see in a modern day Ahmaud Arbery, right? You see Emmett Till, the 14-year-old out of Chicago in Monee, Mississippi in 1955. And so you got to see the connections of this ongoing terror that has taken place against Black people. And it was no different from when there's a Black officer involved, because it's still rooted in the idea that the system says it's okay, Black overseer or Black police officer, for you to handle or mishandle this Black body and this Black life. And so you see it happen with Messiah Young. Messiah is a Morehouse student, graduate of Kenwood, great parents, mom and dad. His dad, Chuck, does just great work in the community. Mom is an educator. Uncle, what I mean? This is one of our kids. You know what I'm saying? It's one of our guys. Goes to Morehouse. His girlfriend Tanaya Pilgrim is at Spelman. So here are two students doing everything that we would ask of our young people to do. No weapons, no drugs, nothing. They're driving down the street and they see one of their friends, another man of Morehouse, who is literally being taken down. And if you watch the video, you can hear this kid just like yelling. His screams were just, I just can't imagine. They had to be similar to what we would have heard on a slave ship, the way this boy was yelling out because the police were assaulting him. And so Messiah takes out his phone and is like, y'all shouldn't do this. And he's in the car. So he doesn't get out the car. He doesn't interfere. Oh, that makes him the target. So they storm his car, 6 officers, smashing windows, slashing tires. I mean, they went straight like a gang. And they yank him, they tase him, they break his arm. His arm is fractured in all of this. There's a taser prong left in his back. I mean, it's just terrible. And then what people don't understand is the traumatic impact that has, because we are told, respect police, be careful, they're here to protect you. But then the reality of what so many young people experience is just the opposite. And so these young people have to continue to process that, and their lives have forever been changed. And so this is a real life situation and lives that have been forever altered. And we've got to hold this system, hold those officers accountable. When they hurt our babies, when they hurt our children, you know, any self-respecting group of people are going to say, nah, we're not going to let you handle ours like that. We're not going to let that go down. And that's what we have to be organized to do.
Wow. That's a shame, but I'm glad you're working on the case. And you recently wrote a book, We Need You. Talk to us about the book a little bit. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier. I need to get one of those. Talk to us about what led you to write the book, and talk to us about the book.
Man, it all really stemmed from conversations with my sons. You know, when they left to go, when Kobe, our oldest, left to go to Howard, we were literally on the plane, and I started outlining. You know how it is, you know, all the things you want your child to know, and you're like, I'm about to lose complete control of this rascal. They're gonna be on the college campus. Let me just try to And the summer before he left, a group of fathers got together. We started meeting first over at the law firm. Then we met over at Sankofa, at my boy, Pastor Derek Rice, your brother-in-law. We met in the basement of the church as well. And just we're having these conversations and bringing in other men, because, you know, they get hard-headed like we did, you know. So we had to bring in some other brothers and say, all right, y'all drop some fat on their head. And so all of those experiences kind of birthed the book. And as We Need You, encouraging my son's generation for Black liberation. And it's, again, just here are some of the things that I experienced over the last 29 years of organizing. And here are some ways that I think you should consider being involved in this movement. And I started obviously writing it way before George Floyd or Breonna Taylor or Ahmaud Arbery, because there've been so many experiences that are very similar to what happened leading up to it. And so it's an invitation, really. That's what the book really is, an invitation to young people, but really to all of us, to find our way to be a part of the movement. You know, back when our parents were young and wearing afros and stuff, you know, they were, hey, brother, hey, sister, you know, we got to get back to that. We got to get back to that. We've got to rebuild that community so that we are more in tune with fighting together than fighting each other, more in tune collaborating than trying to, you know, conquer and clash, you know, and go at each other. So.
Got you. Once again, the name of the book.
We Need You.
We Need You.
We need you.
I'm gonna make sure I go out and buy that book too.
Make sure we definitely read that one, buy that. And it's funny, attorney, because I'm also reading a book that I just got in a couple of days ago, which is it's called Tangled Up in Blue: Policing the American City by Rosa Brooks.
Okay.
It's a very interesting story. It's a woman who was a teacher and joined the Washington Metropolitan Police Department for 4 years, and she joined while she was in her 40s, just because she wanted to see what it was really like and expose it. So I was like, okay, wow. I'm all down with you, Miss White Lady. So,
it's a white lady too.
Yeah, so join the police force to expose it. And
we need allies.
There you go. You need your allies, right? There you go. There you go. So I'll definitely going to add yours to my book list as well. And just thank you so much for coming on today and joining us. And we just really, really appreciate it. And best of luck to you. And please keep us up today on what's going on with that case down there with the young brother from Kentwood Academy.
Man, I just want to say this, man. Thank y'all so much for having me, man. It's an honor. You know, Lance and his family, y'all's family, we go back a long, long way. I remember Lance striking me out when I was the Southeast Little League. Jackie Robinson West, man, he used to have some heat, boy. so the families intertwined, man. It just is about Chicago and about sports and the power of these relationships that we build on teams. And so basketball helped me learn how to be the best team player for our people than anything else. And I just embrace what y'all are doing, brothers. Thank y'all.
Man, Mawuli, I appreciate it. Once again, your 50th birthday party, I'm going to leave it on that note. Ooh, wait. We got it. Jada, I appreciate you having that party for your husband. Ooh, Jada, we got it in. We appreciate you, Attorney Davis.
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care.